Hey class, and welcome back to week 3 of remote learning here. As you hopefully noticed on Thursday, that we are going to have a quiz at the end of the week, okay? So, like I said, be on the lookout at the quiz last week. So our quiz will be Friday of this week. All right, so we're going to have a couple review days here. I want to point something out in our notes here, a couple little key reminders here. Okay, so if you are on our Schoology page, right, hopefully you guys are following along with the agenda here, no problem. If we look at the assignment sheet, all right, we'll let this load up here. Okay, this is what this week is going to look like. So, right, we didn't have school yesterday, Monday. So today we're going to do a review, like an ed puzzle, which is what this is right now. And then you guys should have gotten a calendar invite for a Google Hangouts, right? I'm hoping to have a little Google Hangouts meet with you guys just to say hi. You know, I haven't seen you guys in a while, as well as do a little bit of reviewing also. All right, so 12:15 to 12:45. All right, on Wednesday, I'm hoping that we can meet. And I sent you all a Google invite, a Google Hangouts invite. So check your email for that, okay? And then on Friday is going to be our quiz, all right? The quiz is from 8 a.m. till 11:59 p.m., all right? So I'll post it in the morning, and then you kind of have all day to kind of turn that in, okay? Just make sure you have it submitted by 11:59 on Friday, all right? And speaking of the quiz, all right, also be sure that you are opening up this folder here. All right, we're on week 3. All right, and if you look in the week 3 folder, there'll be a couple of important documents in here. All right, this factors chart is what you should always have with you out. All right, hopefully you're able to print it out. Okay, but if not, then make sure you have it up and out and open. All right, and you would do that by simply downloading it right here. Okay, and when you download this should pop up as a PDF, and you got a new document in here, right? When you have this document, right, this is all the different factors terms, all right? This is what we're going to be using when we look at all the factor chart for our trinomials here, all right? You also want to make sure, let me go back. You also want to have this document out, all right, in this week 3 folder here. It's called the Chapter 7 Notes Part 2. Okay, in this document here, you will see I created a nice little note sheet to help you for the quiz as well. Okay, so again, download this document. Right, and you can see here, right, the Chapter 7 Notes Part 2, right, here are all the kind of the steps for factoring with the GCF, right? We're going to list out the factors, you find the GCF, and then write the solution as a product of the GCF and a sum or difference, right? So here, this was our example, 6x squared plus 8x, right? We listed out all the factors, we circled the greatest common factor, and that was our GCF. So when you go ahead and factor this, right, your GCF's out in front, and then what's remaining goes in your parentheses here, right? The 2 with the 3, that's the partner, right? 2 times 3 gives me that 6, and there's an extra x. That's why this 3x is back here, all right? And then same thing, if I pull out a 2 from the 8, right, I'm left with this 4, and that's all. All right, and then down here are kind of the steps again for factoring trinomials, okay? You want to identify your B and C values here, right? So you want to find factors of C, right? Factors of that last term that add to the middle term. All right, and fill out this chart, right? List out these factors so you can see all the numbers, okay? And then once you find your factored pair that add to that middle term, right, this is where we substitute it into our 2 binomials, right? So the solution for this one would be x minus 4 times x minus 5. All right, so now we are going to do our little review here, okay? So again, print this off. All right, this is the in-class factoring quiz review, right? The in-class one, all right, because we're in class right now. All right, so for this, right, we want to make sure you have those 2 documents out in front of you, right? The factors chart and the Chapter 7 notes. All right, so now let me just hide this up here. All right, time to do some work. All right, so again, print this out or have your notebook out in front of you and take notes to follow along here. Okay, so this first part here is just about finding that GCF, right? We're going to use that factors chart and list out all the factors, right? So we got 1 and 6, and we got 2 times 3. We got 1 and 15, and we got 3 times 5. All right, we got 1 times 27, and we got 3 times 9, and then we're going to find the greatest common factor, which is going to be that 3. All right, over here for number 2, we got 14x squared and 35x to the 4th. All right, again, we're going to list out all the factors, and we're going to start by listing out those x factors first, right? X and x, and we have 1 times 14 and 2 times 7. And then for 35, x to the 3rd, we have x, 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 right? We got the 3 x's, and then 1 times 35, and 5 times 7. And now we look, we find a 7 is our greatest number in common, and we also have 2 x's in common, so therefore my GCF is 7x to the 2nd power, or 7x squared. All right, so now we're going to factor using the GCF, okay? So now we're going to take that same idea of just plain old listing out the factors, and now we're going to find the GCF and actually factor it, okay? So again, for 6x squared, that means I have x and an x, 1 times 6, and 2 times 3. And then for 15x, I have my 1x, I have 1 times 15, and I have 3 times 5. All right, and now I find that I have a 3 and a 3. I have an x and a x. All right, so my GCF is 3x. So now my GCF goes out in front, and now I have to ask myself, what goes back into my parentheses here, right? How do I get back to my original problem? Well, 3x, right, 3x times what will give me back to 6x squared? Well, 3 times 2, right, 3 and 2 are partners. And I have an extra x, so that stays in the parentheses. All right, and now for my 15x, right, how do I get back to 15x? If I take out just 3x, well, 3 times 5 gives me that 15, right? And I don't have an x, so that's why this is my factored solution. All right, time for number 4. Time for number 4. Okay, so number 4, it's a little bit longer, right? 16x squared plus 20x plus 4. However, the steps are always the same, right? We're going to fill out and find the factors, right? 16x squared means I have 2 x's, right? 16 means 1 times 16. It means 2 times 8, and it means 4 times 4. Okay, for 20x, we have our x, and it's 1 times 20, 2 times 10, and 4 times 5. And for 24, we have 1 times 24. We have 2 times 12. We have 3 times 8. And we have 4 times 6. Right, again, if you don't know all these, right, we want to look at this factor chart here and find that number. All right, so now that I listed all my factors, I'm going to use my scanning skills and find the greatest common factor, right? First, I'm going to look for numbers. All right, I see some 8s. That doesn't have 8. Oh, I see a 4, 4, and a 4, right? Looks like 4 is the greatest number, right? This has an x, this has an x, but this one does not have an x. So therefore, my GCF is just the number 4. So my GCF goes out in front. All right, now I have to fill in my parentheses and what's left over from my 3 terms, right? If I pull out that 4 from 16 here, right, 4 times 4 gives me that 16, and I have those 2 x's that goes back, so it's 4x squared. All right, to get back to 20, it's 4 times 5, and I have an extra x, so that needs to go back, right? And then to get back to 24, it's going to be 4 times 6. So there's my factored solution. All right, so now we do the fun stuff, right? Factoring trinomials. All right, so again, we're going to factor each of these trinomials completely by finding the factors of C that add to B, right? Factors of my last term that add to that middle term. So I want to find for number 5 here, I got x squared plus 16x plus 28. So I want to find factors of 28. 1 and 28, 2 and 14, and 4 times 7 all gives me 28. right? So I'm going to list out all the factors, and then out of these factors, I got to see which one adds to a positive 16. Oh, here we go. A positive 4 plus a positive 14 will give me a positive 16. All right, so now that I listed out those factors and I found my winning pair, my solution is going to be x plus 2 times x plus 14. All right, let's look at example 6 here. We got x squared plus 13x plus 12. Again, I want to find factors of 12 because that is my last number, my c value, right? So again, 1 times 12, 2 times 6, and 3 times 4 all give me 12. All right, so now I'm looking out of these three pairs, right? Which one adds to a positive 13? Well, the only one to add to a positive 13 is with a positive 1 and a positive 12. That gives me my 13. All right, so now that I know I'm dealing with 1 and 12, x plus 1 times x plus 12. All right, we got the last two here. All right, number 7 says x squared minus 11x plus 18. All right, so this was a positive 18 here. So that means that's 1 times 18, 2 times 9, and 3 times 6. All right, but now these have to add to a negative 11, right? So these have to add up to a negative 11, right? And multiply to a positive 18. All right, so the only way that's going to be possible is if both of these values, both of these numbers are negative, right? So I got a negative 2 times a negative 9 multiplies to a positive 18, and they add to a negative 11. Perfect. All right, and now here I'm going to ask you to make your own parentheses to get you a little practice here. So parentheses x minus 2, parentheses x minus 9. All right, and our last one here, we don't even have the chart here. All right, so Mr. Bass was asking you to do a little bit more for number 8 here. All right, but we can just make a simple little t-chart. Right, and that's a little t-chart, a couple of horizontal line and a vertical line here will make up our little t-chart. All right, so I want to find factors of my last term, right? Numbers that multiply to negative 27, right? That going to add to a positive 6. All right, and sorry about that plus minus. That really should just be a minus up here. All right, so my factors of negative 27, right? It can be the same as my factors of positive 27, except one of those numbers are going to be negative. All right, so we got 1 in 27 and 3 times 9. All right, I just have two pairs of factors for 27. All right, and again, since it needs to multiply to a negative, that means one of these numbers is going to be negative and one of these is going to be positive, and I want them to add to a positive 6. All right, that means out of these pairs, my bigger number needs to be positive, and my smaller number then will be negative. Because a negative 3 times a positive 9 is a negative 27, and a negative 3 plus 9 is my positive 6. So therefore, my solution is going to be with my parentheses x minus 3, parentheses x plus 9. All right, now it's time for you guys to do a little practice. All right, so now you guys can go ahead and do that quiz review, right? The 7.4 to 7.5, and just work on the odds, right? Just the odd number problems for today, and then we'll kind of go over the answers tomorrow when we do our little Google Meet, Google Hangouts.